Join us for the very first IFL Live at London's Indigo at the O2, Sunday, August the 13th, with me, Kugan Cassius, and some very special guests. Eddie Hearn, Darren Barker, Johnny Fisher and more. Tickets now on sale. So in the words of Eddie Hearn,
you get up, you dress up, and you fucking show up.
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're at Deja Vu. We had the first press conference for Joe Joyce at TalkSport Towers. We're back here. Time to run it back. Why is Joe doing this, Adam?
He's doing it because we want to get the WBO interim belt back to put him in mandatory position for the world title. And he's also doing it because Joe wants the biggest fights. He wants to test himself, and he is not happy that he lost, and he wants to put right that wrong.
There was a lot of questions about Joe's weight coming to the first fight, southpaw sparring that he had in Las Vegas. So in terms of, I know it's not really your department tactically wise, but Ismail Salas isn't here today. So from a Joe Joyce sort of camp point of view, what went wrong in your opinion in the first time?
Yeah, I think, although obviously I'm not a boxing trainer, I think that does fall within the management's job to make sure that the tactics are right, the trainer's right. Let's start with Ismail Salas. I think he's the best trainer in the world, and we've had a long debrief with that. He's watched the video many, many times, and we have a plan. We have a plan for the second fight, and you know, I'm not going to go into it in detail, but there were things that didn't go to plan, there were things we did wrong, and there were things we can improve on. In terms of southpaw sparring, I heard that, and we had loads of southpaw sparring for the first fight. We had southpaws that had been used by other boxers to prepare against Zhang, and this time we have further excellent southpaw sparring, and from when Joe goes out next week, we've got a very, very structured camp right up to the date of the fight in terms of what we're working on. So I think maybe this camp will be a little bit more structured than the last one, but certainly the last one we weren't exactly sparring orthodox people.
Okay, no, I thought that wasn't the case, but you know, people like to make room.
It's crazy, yeah.
So I heard there was speculation around this landing on September 2nd. So why has it been pushed back to the 23rd?
It was pushed back because the promoter wanted to push it back. You know, Joe's ready on September 2nd. He's ready on September 23rd. He's ready whenever anyone needs him. I just think it was felt by the promoter that was a good time commercially, good for the fight commercially, trying to avoid other date clashes, and just generally the right time to have it done.
Adam, we know Tyson Fury's been looking for an opponent for quite some time now. Of course, if you go back after the loss that Joyce had, there were reports that Queensbury were in talks with Zhang's team to do Fury Zhang and to pay step-aside money to you guys, essentially. So how close was that, and was there talks about that?
It was definitely spoken about, but I think so many things get spoken about. It never made it into writing, but it was definitely spoken about. And I can say from a management perspective, if a deal had have been done for Zhang to fight Fury, I would not have been concerned about the step-aside money. I would have been concerned that we had an absolute right to fight the winner. That's what I would have been focusing on. So yeah, it was spoken about. I heard about it. It never got into writing. But I would have been, I think it's a good move for his career if he got the winner, because it's a potential Fury fight. And I think that's what Joe's got to be aiming for.
Seen Joe's statement on Instagram, which would have probably played a factor into him not taking the step-aside money and going straight into this rematch. I'm leaving everything in that ring, no compromises, no underestimating my opponent, nothing but a win. Yeah. So that's all his focus is at the moment.
That is all his focus is. And, you know, I think there was that talk of that, but I thought we can't let this talk hang around the whole time. You can't be hoping that Fury and Zhang get something together and then hoping that we have a negotiation with Fury. We just got to get on with it. And so that's when we exercised the rematch clause. I can't remember when, maybe a month or 6 weeks ago. And we really got on with this and finalised the details of it. Joe needs to be back in the ring, and we need to, you know, one of the issues in the heavyweight division at the moment is there's so much money involved. It is really hard to do those deals. And my job as Joe's manager is to get him the fights and get him active. And when Joe fights on September 23rd, that'll be the fourth fight he's had in, you know, a year and 2 months. And he's probably one of the most active top 10 guys out there.
Of course, if he does get the win on September 23rd, he's back in that pole position with the WBO interim. In a funny way, I think his profile and stock's actually gone up after this loss. I think he's more known, and with the Parker fight being on box office, he's a massive name now in British and world boxing. So get the win on September 23rd, and you're just waiting at a world title shot then, surely?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, get the win on September 23rd. I think what's likely to then happen is, I think one way or another, it's just a guess, I think Fury Usyk will happen at the end of the year. I think there's a lot
I'm hearing that's not going to happen.
I know, I heard Simon Jordan said it's not going to happen yesterday, but I think one way or another that fight probably will happen. The winner may vacate the belts, so it's possible Joe could get elevated to full champion. If not, he gets his mandatory shot Q1 next year. But Joe wins September 23rd. He won't want to sleep on it. I think Joe might want to go again in December. Joe might want to go again in December. Yeah, why not? But
you fought Parker and Zhang when you didn't have to.
No, but why not? Then he can fight again in December against like a Dillian Whyte or something. Fight Dillian Whyte in December, put it on the line again. Yes, heavyweight boxing is about belts. I get that. Boxing is about belts. But sometimes isn't it about a bit more than that? Isn't it about just delivering great fights, whether they're for belts or not? Joe Zhang, Joe Parker, Joe Dillian Whyte, they're all great fights that he can have. And yeah, look, I don't think Joe wants to retire not a world champion, but he also wants to deliver and get paid well and deliver great fights.
To be fair, Dillian did attend the first fight, and had Joe won that was the conversation that night about, we're going to do this on box office live on BT between Joe and Dillian. So I'm sure if Joe won on September 23rd, Dillian would be interested because, again, he's looking for an opponent at the moment, isn't he?
Well, look, after Zhang, I wanted Joe to fight Tyson Fury. Whether we could have organised that fight, who knows? Very, very difficult, I think. Dillian Whyte would have been a plan B. But once Joe's got the WBO interim back, he then becomes attractive because he's not in the Who Wants It club. You beat Joe Joyce, you get this prize. You get this prize of of having the mandatory shot, or alternatively getting elevated to the full title. So it then becomes, those fights really, really do become possible. I don't know where AJ will be. I don't know where AJ will be with his career at that point. Maybe he's going to fight Wilder, but maybe not. Maybe Joe can fight AJ.
Yeah. What do you think about Joshua asking for a rematch clause with Dillian Whyte on August 12th?
Yeah, I don't know how true that is. I think that...
No, Dillian confirmed they did ask for a rematch clause.
So I got asked a question earlier about whether Dillian Whyte was career defining, and I think AJ has the ability to withstand a lot of losses. I think he lost to Usyk. I don't think it affected his marketability. I think he didn't have a good performance against Franklin. I don't think he's affected his marketability. My job as a manager is to get Joe Joyce to approach the level of an AJ so that he can withstand losses if need be. And Joe's on that path now, becoming more and more well known. But, credit to AJ, he's at a place where I'd love Joe Joyce to be. He wants a rematch clause. Look, I understand why people want rematch clauses. I put a rematch clause in Joyce Zhang 1, so I'm hardly going to sit here and say don't ask for them. Does it look like a lack of confidence? No, I think it's good management, ultimately. I think it's good management to ask for rematch clauses. But there's nothing on the line in that. I asked for the rematch because we had the WBO interim. There's no belts on the line there.
Well, listen, roll on September 23rd, live on TNT Sports, as it will be, the old BT Sports. Great event for the fans, and best of luck to obviously you guys with Team Joyce. Time to get it back.
Huge fight, absolutely huge fight. I know Usyk Dubois is happening, but I think it's the standout fight of the fourth quarter of the year, or coming into the fourth quarter of the year. And yes, it's everything on the line for Joe. And people build up fights and say, "Oh, his career's on." I think Joe's career really is on the line here. It's absolutely huge. People know who Zhang is now. I think it's much bigger than the first fight. This is going to be a tremendous fight.
Well, we look forward to it, September 23rd. Thank you very much for your time, Adam.
Cheers.
Join us for the very first IFL Live at London's Indigo at the O2, Sunday, August the 13th, with me, Kugan Cassius, and some very special guests. Eddie Hearn, Darren Barker, Johnny Fisher and more. Tickets now on sale. So in the words of Eddie Hearn...
You get up, you dress up, and you fucking show up.